Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge System and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSE, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level Exam and CLAT examination. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session is the DNA, that is the daily news analysis of the Hindu newspaper, that is today's of 12th of January 2021. And this session will help you because I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the newspaper, wherein we will identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions which will be useful exclusively for preliminary examination. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing, your answers for the mains would be precise and concise, and you will score higher marks in the mains examinations. So therefore, this session of DNA at AKS IAS Academy will help you to crack prelims and mains of 2021. And the quote of the day is, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. It's the hard that makes it great. So certainly whatever you have planned is certainly to be one of the toughest one, and it would certainly be hard. And this has to be made it the hard that makes it great. So you have to overcome the hard, and when you overcome the hard, then you are great. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper. And here the Supreme Court has intended to stay the implementation of the controversial agricultural laws which were by the government of India. Here the keyword is to stay the implementation. It is not to go ahead with having any stoppage in regards to the complete agricultural laws, but it is just a stay of the implementation. And the Supreme Court, by going ahead with the stay of the implementation, it has also proposed to form an independent committee so that would look into the issues or the standoff which is between the farmers and union government, so that the independent committee which is proposed by the Supreme Court would amicably resolve the issue between the farmers and union government in regards to the controversial agricultural laws. But here the Supreme Court has not mentioned anything about the constitutional validity of the agricultural laws. It has just intended to stay the implementation. Please do understand, it has just intended to stay the implementation of the controversial agricultural laws, but it did not talk about the constitutional validity of the agricultural laws. And in turn, the bench, the three-judge bench, which is headed by the Chief Justice of India, Sharath Bobde, has underscored or highlighted the disappointment at the way the center has handled the entire protest, that is the farmers' protest against the agricultural laws. And it has also underscored the disappointment, the way the talks have failed and the way the states have come up in rebellion against the controversial agricultural laws, and the way the suicides have taken place among the protest against the farmers' agricultural laws, and the way the aged farmers, women and children are suffering in the biting cold amid the pandemic situation is the disappointment which has been emphasized and underscored by the three-judge bench led by Chief Justice of India, Sharath Bobde. And the court, however, has made it very clear that at this say, the situation or the scenario, the stage which it is now, the court is not into the mood of questioning the constitutional validity of the agricultural laws, but it is intended to stay the implementation of the agricultural laws, and the center has filed in turn the center has filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying that the protests were confined to only a section of the country or a one part of the country, and the center has made it very clear in the affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court that the majority of the farming communities were happy with the laws, and it was only a group or one part of the country which is not happy, and it was against the farmers agricultural laws and protesting against the government initiated or government's agricultural reforms laws. And in turn the farmers have rejected the Supreme Court suggestions to appoint a committee so that it would amicably resolve the differences or the ongoing crisis between the farmers and the agricultural laws. So here the Supreme Court intervention in regards to the issue or the ongoing crisis between the farmers and the center. So the question here is, the Supreme Court has intended to stay only the implementation, but it is not looking at the constitutional validity of the agricultural laws, and in turn it has proposed to set up an independent committee chaired by the former Chief Justice of India so that the committee can go ahead with amicably resolving the issue or the impasse or deadlock between the farmers and the union government. And we will look at the another news which is talking about the PM Kisan beneficiaries or the scheme. And according to the information which is provided by the Agricultural Ministry, so the Agricultural Ministry has provided the information because a right to information request was filed by an activist against the government, that is in regards to the PM Kisan payments, and in turn the information provided by the Agriculture Ministry very clearly categorically says that the PM Kisan payments worth 1364 crores have been wrongly made to more than 20 lakh ineligible PM Kisan beneficiaries and to the income tax payers of the farmers. So here, because of the RTI request, it is to the limelight that 1364 crore rupees have been wrongly made or paid to 20 lakh ineligible beneficiaries. Here the keyword is it has made wrongly payment to the 20 lakh ineligible beneficiaries and to the one who are paying income tax, that is the farmers who are paying income tax. So in regards to that, the PM Kisan payments wrongly made, if you look at the states which have the highest ineligible beneficiaries which have been made wrongly payment by the PM Kisan payments is Punjab, which stands as 23%, Maharashtra 17%, Assam 14%, and this along with that is followed by Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh. So if you look at Punjab with 23, Maharashtra 17, Assam 14, and Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh with 8% of ineligible beneficiaries who have been wrongly made payments to the ineligible beneficiaries and to the income tax payer farmers. And now we will look at what is PM Kisan. It is a center's flagship scheme, and this scheme provides the income support worth 6,000 a year to the farming families. So this is the important information for the prelims perspective of 2021 UPSC, that talking about the wrongly payments made to the ineligible and the taxpayers farmers through the PM Kisan flagship scheme. We would focus about what is PM Kisan scheme. So it provides an income support of worth rupees 6,000 a year to the farming families, and there are 11 crore beneficiaries who are registered under the PMKisan flagship scheme. And this scheme was launched in the year 2019, just before the general election, and this was meant to cover initially only the small and marginal farmers, but later on even the large farmers were included in the scheme. And initially, when the scheme has been launched, it has covered only the small and marginal farmers who had owned less than 2 hectares of land. And later on, even the large farmers were included, and then the government of India has removed a criteria called as land size criteria, and then later on included the large farmers in the PM Kisan. But however, there were certain exclusions which have been remained in the PM Kisan flagship scheme, that it makes it very clear that if a member of a family or the farming family who are paying or who are paid income tax and who have a monthly pension of about 10,000, or who have held a constitutional position, or else who is serving or a retired government employee, they are all not eligible for the PM Kisan flagship scheme, which provides an income support for the farmers worth 6,000 rupees a year. And also the professionals and institutional landowners were also excluded of providing income support of worth 6,000 a year for the farming families. So we have looked at the what does the PM Kisan flagship scheme provides, and when it was launched, and it covers whom initially and later on to even the who were included, and what are the exclusions. We have looked at paid income tax persons, monthly pension about 10,000, who holds a constitutional positions or serving or retired government employee are not eligible, along with the professionals and institutional landowners are not eligible for the PM Kisan. And this information about this scheme is crucial for the prelims UPSC perspective. And there is another news which talks about the PLA Soldier, that is People's Liberation Army soldier, who was apprehended onto the Indian side, that is in eastern Ladakh, or who was detained, the soldier, People's Liberation Army, that is Chinese soldier, who has been detained on January 8, 2021 in eastern Ladakh along the south of Pyongyang So Lake, was handed back to China at a border point called as Chuzul Moldo border point on January 11, 2021. So this news is at the midst of the standoff and the face-off between India and China along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh since March 2020. So we have seen the apprehension, that is the kind of detention of the PLA soldier or Chinese soldier who have crossed the line of actual control along the south of Pyongyang So Lake in eastern Ladakh has been handed over. And the same or the similar incident of the January 8, 2021 has also occurred in October 2020, wherein the Chinese soldier who was identified as Corporal Wang Yalong was also detained in the Demchuk area of eastern Ladakh in October 2020 and was later on handed over to the China at the same border point, that is Chuzul Moldo border point. So this handing over the Indian Army handing over the PLA soldiers to China would be a kind of a scenario wherein the de-escalation process of the Chinese troops from Indian territory along the LAC might be a positive step. And if we look at the Chuzul and Moldo sector, so Chuzul is on the Indian side, this post, and then Moldo is on the Chinese side. So this is the post wherein Chuzul Indian side and Moldo onto the Chinese. So at this Chuzul Moldo border point, the apprehended or the detained PLA soldier was handed over to China by Indian Army. And we have here the Pangong Lake, wherein the PLA soldier on January 8, 2021 has crossed onto the south of Pangong So Lake. So this lake is the Pangong So Lake here, this one. And you have another lake called as Spangur Lake. So we have seen recently the Chinese troops or the PLA soldiers have crossed the Spangur Lake and they have entered onto the Indian side, that is on the LAC, the line of actual control, onto the Indian side. They have passed the law, that is the Rezang law, and they have entered into Indian side. So you have the October 2020 wherein one of the PLA soldier who have also been detained by Indian Army was at Demchuk. So Demchuk is at this place, and now we have, January 8, 2021, this is 2021 and this place 2020, October. Demchuk, here you have it, and you have Pangong So Lake. South of it, one of the PLA soldier has entered into Indian side along the LAC. So he was detained, interrogated and medically checked and then handed over by the Indian Army to the China. So you have the Galwan Valley here, Shok River, and then Daulat Beg Oldie, wherein you have from Leh. This is a highway connecting Darbuk Shok to Daulat Beg Oldie River, and you have the Karakoram Pass, which is onto the Indian side, and this is the Aksai Chin, wherein China says it is part of China. So you have the LOC, line of control between India and Pakistan, and LAC, that is line of actual control between India and China. So this I have taken up for your benefit because there could be a possibility when we have handed over the PLA soldier to China. So we have discussed about Chuzul Moldo and then Resangla Pass, and then in regards to the North Pangong So Lake and then Sprangur Lake. So all this along with Demchuk and then Chuzul sector you have here, as we discussed, Daulat Beg Oldie and then Karakoram Pass. So this can be again taken into consideration from geography map based questions. And there is another news which talks about a panel which has cleared the parliament project, that is the new parliament building which the union government is proposing to construct has been approved by the panel or committee. This is the keyword, that is Heritage Conservation Committee, and this Heritage Conservation Committee's clearance was mandated, or it was mandatory, which wherein the Supreme Court has made its judgment on January 5th, allowing the project of the new parliament building to be constructed. And the court has ordered in its judgment on January 5th that the union government can go ahead with the construction of the new parliament building only through the, or only when there is a permission being sanctioned by the HCC, that is Heritage Conservation Committee. And the Heritage Conservation Committee is headed by the Additional Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry, and the Heritage Conservation Committee, it has Additional Secretary and also various government officials are also part of the Heritage Conservation Committee. And the Supreme Court has made it very clear that the HCC should be given or should approve the permission to construct a new parliament building, and only then the government of India or the union government can start the work on the ground. So certainly now there is all clearance or approval also by the committee or the panel, that is Heritage Conservation Committee, which is headed by the Additional Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry along with few government officials. And this panel or the Heritage Conservation Committee panel has looked at the preservation of heritage as per Unified Building Bylaws 2016. So this is the key phrase. On what basis the Heritage Conservation Committee has approved the construction of the new parliament building, that is as per or at the preservation of the heritage site as per the Unified Building Bylaws 2016 is the keyword. And the new building which has been proposed to be built, which would be built just adjacent to the existing parliament, wherein the existing parliament was built in the year 1920. And the Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Puri has said that the completion of the new parliament building would be by 2022, which would mark the 75th year of India's independence. So this information is for prelims as well as mains perspective. And we will look at now that Iran is warning any action which it has seized a vessel of South Korean. So Iran has seized South Korean vessel, and once it has seized the South Korean vessel, it is US and France which is trying to intervene and resolve the issue from the South Korean end. And in turn, Iran has warned US and France not to politicize the issue of Iran seizing the South Korean tanker in the Persian Gulf, because the US and France are urging the Islamic Republic, that is Iran, to release the ship, that is a vessel of South Korean. But in turn, Iran has warned US and France not to intervene and not to politicize the seizure of South Korean tanker by Iran. And the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps have seized the vessel of South Korean named as Hankuk Chemi. So this is for prelims current affairs UPSC perspective, that the name of which among the following is incorrect. Sentences are incorrect in regards to the Iran seizing the South Korean vessel. The name of the vessel is Hankuk Chemi, and Iran or Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps have arrested 20 multinational crew members near the Strait of Hormuz on January 1st week 2021. So the keyword here is the Strait of Hormuz, which would be certainly important from geography map based. So we will look at where is Strait of Hormuz, wherein the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps have seized the South Korean vessel, that is Hankuk Chemi, in the Persian Gulf. And the move has come, that is the seizure of the South Korean vessel by Iran has come because Tehran has urged, that is Iran has urged Seoul, that is South Korean, to release billions of dollars of Iranian assets which were frozen in South Korea as part of US sanctions. So now look at it, we have Iran here, we have again South Korea, and then in turn it is US which is and France which are intervening, and then they wanted Iran to release the South Korean vessel. And now why did Iran seize the vessel of South Korean? The reason or the analysis when we get into point, that is Iran or Tehran has seized the South Korean vessel Because in turn, Iran wants South Korea to release billions of dollars of Iranian assets which are frozen in South Korea. Why it is frozen in South Korea? Because as part of the US economic sanctions onto Iran's or Iranian assets were frozen in South Korea. So now Iran has taken an initiative or a step to seize the South Korean vessel so that South Korea will release the Iranian assets which are frozen as part of the US economic sanctions onto Iran. And in turn, the US and France have asked or called Iran to release this ship. And in turn, even South Korean Deputy Foreign Minister Jong-kun has reached Tehran, that is Iran, on January 10, 2021 for negotiations so that the vessel, South Korean vessel, would be released, which Iran has seized in Strait of Hormuz. So this is Strait of Hormuz, wherein Iran has seized the South Korean vessel. And this is again important from geography, map based, from prelims as well as mains perspective. So we have here Bandar Abbas port, and you have various islands, that is Kesham Islands, Karak Islands, Kish Islands, Tunub Islands, Siri Islands, Abu Musa Islands. And this Strait of Hormuz is, you have a peninsula of Oman. You have Oman here, and then another peninsula or the geographical area of Oman, which is adjoining to UAE, that is United Arab Emirates. So you have another Gulf of Oman here, which are all very important for geography map base. And Persian Gulf, if you look at the countries, you have Iran, which is bordering Persian Gulf, Qatar, and then you have United Arab Emirates, Oman. So this, you have Kuwait also, Saudi Arabia also. So this can be a crucial information for international relations as well as geography map base, because the islands at the Strait of Hormuz, because Hormuz is, because you have a province here, this is Hormuz province. So because of that, the name has come onto the strait, that is Strait of Hormuz. You have a province called as Hormuzgan province. So this is the crucial information as per the international relations and also geography map based. And now we will recapitulate the DNA of the Hindu newspaper. Here it is in regard to the Supreme Court has intended to stay the implementation of the agricultural farm laws, but the Supreme Court is not ready to question or look into the constitutional validity of the agricultural laws. So this is as per the polity, you can focus this, and this is as per the welfare scheme, that is center's flagship program, the PMKisan. We have looked at how 1364 crores have been wrongly credited to the ineligible beneficiaries and to the income tax payers farmers. And this is as per the India-China, the way the face-off or the standoff between India-China in the eastern Ladakh, and how India has handed over, or Indian army has handed over the PLA Soldier to China, which would be a positive, that the de-escalation of the troops or the face of a standoff between India and China along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh would be a calm, and then it would lead to a de-escalation process. And this is as per the environment. We have looked at how the HCC has given an approval for the union government to construct the new parliament building. And this is as per the international relations, how Iran has seized the South Korean vessel and also threatening US and France not to intervene and politicize the issue because Iran wants South Korea to release the frozen assets which have been frozen by the South Korean as part of the US economic sanctions. And we have also looked at from geography map based, looking at the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman and the islands, Bandar Abbas port and then Strait of Hormuz and the countries which are along the boundary of the Persian Gulf. So I hope this session was an informative, knowledgeable session and also helpful for you in regards to the macro and micro level preparation, that is for the mains and prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all and a good luck to you all, and then do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule and take care of your physical health and mental health. And do not forget to like the video, share the video and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and the telegram link of AKS, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then see you again tomorrow with the daily news analysis. Till then, thank you and goodbye.